Hello. Welcome to my little evening show. Follow me into an adventure of Drago Sanghetti, the famous vampire cop in Vampyre City. The story is called The Bats. Let's start. The following events were reconstructed and reported based on the extensive documents as well as the testimonies of people directly involved who had survived the incidents. Well, whenever I myself had to intervene in critical moments, I will of course give you objective first-hand statements concerning the story of the day, when the bats overtook our country. All started very harmlessly. At the little town of Gotham Bay, not far away from Vampyre City, the night started like many nights before. The vampires stood up in the evening, took their breakfast, and prepared for their nightly work. Their coffins were freshly made, the windows widely opened for the air exchange. The sky was starry, and the full moon's low-standing disk painted the bay's water surface, which was dimpled by the slight waves, into a romantic light. This year's tourist season still stood at the very beginning, but already some guests from far away had checked into one of the little guest houses of the place or at one of the various bed and breakfast offerings. The night promised to become a good one. Tippi Cartwright, special teacher for dental science and coagulation of the blood at the local elementary school, drove her beetle through the still not yet very dark main road. Still having time, for her lessons didn't start before the second course of the night, she had a look for a little snack. She knew at once where to go. At a motorway station near the highly frequented Interstate 44, where lots of clueless passing humans stopped by, she parked her beetle in a dark corner of the area and lay on lookout. After a while, a single man, who obviously made a short walk after having filled up the tank of his car, came into her view and passed by. "Have a light?" With a fiery glimpse in her eyes, she stepped into his way. She knew that show would be successful as ever. One man was like the other. Of course, He couldn't finish his sentence. His mouth widened, the man dumped into the close proximity of the blonde beauty. Being open to her feminine charms, he looked for contacting her mouth. Tippi's lips caressed his cheeks and wandered to his throat. Then she bit. Overwhelmed by the sensuality, the man sank into her arms. After her little snack, Tippi laid her pale victim down as usual beside the garbage container. Maybe he would stay in this placid village under a new identity and with a new side of the world. Tippi didn't know. And as usual, Tippi didn't care. Back at her car, she flipped two bats off the convertible roof. "Annoying beasts!" she snorted, entering the car, although she used to like the little flutterers, but please, not on the roof of her new convertible. Back on the way to the elementary school, Tippi glared at the huge disk of the moon, and its long-drawn, tattered mirror image on the water surface fascinating her. Although driving, she accepted being diverted and dreamed herself into continuing fascination into this picture. The enormous swarm of bats crossing the moonlight intensified her dreaming. But now she had to work. She parked the beetle in front of the school building. 10 minutes later, her lessons began. According to the official documents, the early night passed at the school without any extraordinary event. only the exaggerated excitement of some pupils watching a huge swarm of bats hanging in the brightest moonlight in the old oak tree nearby was worth to be mentioned. The bare tree, just sprouting, looked like having thousands of fully grown leaves within seconds. Young vampires love such varieties, especially during lesson hours. I believe childish curiosity and fascination won't ever change. At the midnight hour, Tippy, as usual, started her way home. At about this time, first calls came in at our police station. Nervous vampires gave their reports about unusual flight maneuvers of huge bat swarms. The ventilation system of an apartment building in Gotham Bay got blocked by these flyers in a way that a service company had to start an emergency operation for clearing the channels to avoid danger for life and limb. On her way back to the little cottage high above the bay, Tippy felt uneasy when she noticed the overload the bats produced hanging at the telephone cables and being an acute danger for their sheer strength. In spite of the delightful moonlight, Tippy decided to shut the convertible's roof. The cozy atmosphere of the closed car's narrow inside space brought her excitement about the coming morning back to life. "Chief!" At 1 o'clock in the morning, Little came rushing into my office. "An emergency call from Gotham Bay just came in." "More precisely, Harry." I knew that something severe must have happened when my assistant speeded in that uptight. "A man, a certain Alfred Hitchhiker, fears for his life. Bats are invading into his house through the chimney. He calls for urgent help." "Bats? Through the chimney?" I bared my teeth. Never heard things like that, but let's not waste time. Harry, go and get the car. 3 minutes later, we were chasing in our bat van out of Vampyre City down to the coastline. The first bats slapped against the Beetle's windshield. With every hit, Tippy winced inevitably. Each time, her nerves signaled that an impact of a bat was to be expected in her face. A first small crack could be seen in the glass. Tippy started the wipers. Bad idea. Nicely and evenly, the red-black smear was distributed as a fine film across the glass. Tippy saw less than before, so she couldn't help but get her orientation from the pavements and houses at the left and the right. Suddenly, with a deafening bang, her car smashed against another object. Tippy had no clue what it was, but that didn't matter at all now. Lifting her head out of the airbag, the left one of her fangs got caught in the balloonet. The last remnants of the content streamed into her face. Coughing by the fine powder, she looked for an emergency refuge, searching the fronts of the next houses with her eyes. But they all looked the same. So Tippy rushed out of the car directly to the next door. 2 bats had clinged already into Tippy's hair as she hammered loudly, screaming against the door. "Open the door! Hurry! For its sake, open the door!" A young man tore open the door. He saw the animals in her hair and on the damaged car. "Come in!" Nimbly he grabbed her arm, pulled her in and slammed the door. "Thanks!" Tippy breathed, falling into one of the armchairs. Using a jacket, the man caught the animals in Tippy's hair, opened a window, threw the bats together with the jacket to the outside, and locked the window again. Bats slapped against one of the other windows. "I'll take care of it." Bravely and without hesitation, the man tore open the first window for closing the outer shutter. He could only make use of one hand, the other being heavily needed for protecting himself against the attacking suckers. Window by window he fulfilled his tasks until he had locked the last one. When he fell into one of the other armchairs, for a moment absolutely quiet, he and Tippy listened to the hits of the beasts against the wood, resembling to the sound of a machine gun. "Hi, I'm Rod McGraw." "Ah, it's a pleasure. Tippy Cartwright. If we could speak of a pleasure tonight at all." He nodded and smiled at her charmingly. Tippy admired his wonderful gallery of white teeth. "Oh, you are bleeding." Tippy saw the wounds, which the animals had rippled into his face. May I?" Rod nodded. Caringly, she bowed her head towards him and gave first aid, lapping up the drops of blood. "You are very kind, Tippy." For a moment their eyes met. Suddenly a violent bang stirred them up. "On the upper floor!" Rod shouted, sprang up to his feet and hurried up the stairs. "They have invaded into my workroom." Tippy heard him slamming a door. In the next moment, Rod rushed downstairs again. "I need some tools from the cellar." 1 minute later, he ran up again, taking huge steps, packed with wooden planks and a huge hammer under his arms. "Come on, I need help." Tippy followed him upstairs. Then she spotted the disaster. The bats had hit a hole into the door already. "Come here, we'll strengthen the door, thin wood, by using these planks." Rod swung the hammer, while Tippy held the boards. "Okay, that will do." His voice fought against the drumming of the bat heads against the door. In the other rooms, it still seemed to be calm. "Fortunately, I hadn't yet opened tonight the shutters in the other rooms, but I'll have a look." Anxiously, Tippy watched him opening one door after the other carefully and controlling each room. "Everything's okay. All are tightly closed." Tippy felt her knees weaken as she stepped downstairs. Now, as the tension vanished, she really got aware of the incidents. Being completely exhausted, she let herself fall into the chair. "I'm afraid that's going to be a long night, Tippy." For a second, Tippy closed her eyes. Then, all of a sudden, she opened them in horror. A frightening thought came into her mind. "And after the night, the day?" "Don't worry, Tippy. I'll prepare the spare coffin for you." Smiling, he took her hand calmingly. Tippy closed her eyes again in relief. To be continued in part 2.